Beyond the video content itself, custom thumbnails are probably the most important YouTube tool you have in your arsenal. So if I ask the question, why is it important to do this? And why you should pay attention to this? Well, if you're not sure on the answers, you'll find out by the end of this video. Let's do this. Well, that doesn't really work because I'm not full screen. Roll intro!
vidIQ.
vidIQ.
vidIQ.com.
Alright, first of all, let's sort this problem out. And now let's do the camera punch. Hadouken! Hello everybody, welcome back to vidIQ. I'm Rob, and if you haven't already realised, you are at the very beginning of a video series on how to make custom thumbnails that get you more views. For the full playlist, make sure you click over here. But since this is the first video in the series, you probably want to stick around and learn the absolute basics to why custom thumbnails are so important. And if you're a regular to vidIQ, you probably heard me say this one before. Readers judge books by their covers, viewers judge videos by their thumbnails. It's unavoidable. You have a tiny window of opportunity to grab that person's attention and draw them into your video. So let's jump into how to make custom thumbnails, and we'll start with this example. This video you see on screen is about how to download a thumbnail from YouTube, but the current thumbnail for this video that's been selected by YouTube automatically is a rather useless picture of myself that tells the viewer absolutely nothing. But with the help of a custom thumbnail, we can tell a much more colourful, intriguing and direct visual story that might just earn this video an extra click. And here is the good news. To start using custom thumbnails, you don't need a single view, subscriber or minute of watch time. But you do need to verify your YouTube account. Verifying your account literally takes 1 minute, and it just so happens we have a complete beginner's guide on how to do it over here. So if you haven't already done this, verifying your YouTube account to unlock custom thumbnails along with lots of other things has just jumped to the top of your YouTube priority list. Get it done now! Alright then, now you've got access to custom thumbnails, let's have a look at some of the technical aspects of how to create them. The minimum recommended resolution is 1280 by 720, which funnily enough is what this video is looking like right now until I do this. Now we're back up to 1920 by 1080. Can anybody tell the difference? Hopefully it should look a little sharper. And that's the type of resolution you want. If you go any higher, then you're going to face two problems. First of all, when you start to create really high resolution images, when you shrink them down to thumbnail preview size, they can look a little weird. But more importantly, YouTube has a very restrictive file size when it comes to thumbnails. You have just 2 meg to play with. Keep that in mind if you intend to create really complex images. And finally, make sure to save your thumbnails in one of the following file formats: JPEG, GIF or GIF, BUMP, and PNG. Another advantage of creating thumbnails at this resolution is that it matches the aspect ratio of how 99.9% of your potential audience will see them, which is the classic 16:9 widescreen shape. And what do I mean by that? Well, have you ever seen thumbnails that look like this? That's when somebody's taken a portrait picture and tried to use it as a landscape thumbnail. It's not really ideal, is it? And it doesn't look professional. So let me just fix this. And then bring this in. And if you stick to these basic YouTube thumbnail principles, you should be off and running. Alright, pay attention folks, because if there is one thing you take away from this video, it's this next tip. It is absolutely crucial for the success of your thumbnails. When you design your thumbnail, you get the whole experience, but everybody else gets this experience. And I like to call it the 10% rule. At full size, this thumbnail looks colourful but pretty basic. There are, maybe 3 elements to it: a person, an object and a background. However, when you shrink it down to 10% of its original size, is everything you saw before still recognisable and easy to understand? It's the same for YouTube thumbnails as seen on mobile devices, although this might be more the 25% rule or the 30% rule. Oh, and if that thumbnail needs explaining to you, check out the video on screen now. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is this: when you create your custom thumbnail, make sure to shrink it down to 10% of its size to see how everybody else is going to see that thumbnail when it ends up on YouTube. If you don't, you end up with thumbnails that look like this. A thumbnail full of 20 random Lego pieces that when you shrink it down are impossible to see. A Fortnite menu screen that when shrunk down to thumbnail preview size loses all of its context. And an image of a tank set amongst a background of similar colours which when resized is impossible to pick out. Although I do like the text in this one. These are all examples of thumbnails from channels we audited on our weekly channel audit live stream. Subscribe to vidIQ to make sure you get a notification for that. Those are all examples of where applying the 10% rule could help guide the video creator to make better thumbnails. On the other hand, there are video creators we audit every week that have fantastic thumbnails that you should pay attention to. This one is bold, bright and simple, which when we resize to match the rest of the competition in this little game of compare the thumbnail, is for me at least the standout winner. But I'll let you decide right now by using the voting poll in the top right hand corner of the screen. And by doing this, you'll help demonstrate the importance of something called click-through rate. Every time a viewer sees one of your thumbnails, that counts as an impression. Every time somebody clicks on one of those thumbnails, that is a view, of course. And you can calculate the click-through rate from that. For example, let's say your thumbnail is shown 100 times and it's clicked on 10 times, that's 10% click-through rate. Now, on YouTube, it does get a lot more complicated than that, and we've done a lot more detailed videos on the topic. But basically, click-through rate is a representation of how powerful and effective your titles and your thumbnails are. To review the click-through rate on your channel, you will need to go to the new YouTube Studio Beta. From the dashboard screen, click on Analytics, and then from the top row of tabs, click on Reach Viewers, and finally Impressions to Click-Through Rate box. A question that's often asked at this point is, what is a good click-through rate? And YouTube's answer is between 2 and 10%. But what I would say is forget all that and set your current click-through rate as a benchmark and aim to improve on that. The reason I say that is because it's impossible to compare your click-through rate to anybody else's, because the type of content, the style of a channel, and the size of a channel, amongst many other things, can have a huge influence on how many people click on your thumbnails. All you should be doing is working with the numbers you know and understand. Working with somebody else's numbers is going to drive you utterly insane. That's precisely what we focused on here at vidIQ, and our click-through rate has gone from this 12 months ago to this today. As you can see, when click-through rate goes up, so does everything else. Alright, time for a little bit of fun. Did you know that Google can tell you all sorts of things about your thumbnail which are unnervingly accurate, including, really importantly for YouTube, whether or not your thumbnail is safe? Take a look at this. It's called Cloud Vision. It's free to use right now, and I'll leave a link in the video description. All you need to do is upload a thumbnail to it and it will spit out the following information. It can tell me with 94% confidence that the main emotion in this thumbnail is surprise. It knows this thumbnail contains a person, a man in fact, and it can even pick out the traffic sign. It's even trying to pick out specific body parts and actions. It doesn't always get things right, however. I mean, this thumbnail has nothing to do with drug awareness, although just remember this. Stay in school, kids. And it looks like it may be linking my face or the vidIQ logo to all of the PewDiePie vs T-Series content we've been making. That is weird and scary at the same time. The text section is a bit useless because we don't have much of it, but it does show us the dominant colours in the thumbnail. Perhaps the most important tab, however, is the last one, Safe Search. This tells us how safe Google thinks the image is, and we know that YouTube does analyse thumbnails to ensure that they are safe for the viewer. So if you do create a thumbnail that is a little edgy, it might be a good idea to run it through this first. Oh, and Rob? Racy Wilson. That Cloud Vision is certainly an impressive glance into the world of artificial intelligence. Stick some of your thumbnails through it and let us know what it comes out with in the comments below. As I said at the top of this video, we've only just started with the weird and wonderful world of custom thumbnails. We'll be going into a lot more theory in the videos on this playlist over here, and for more awesome vidIQ stuff, we've got some more videos down there. We'll see you on either of those. Right now, enjoy the rest of your video making day.